Hello and welcome to Angel's Corner. Today I wanted to talk about what God's love has taught me and how I implement it into my life. So, the first thing that God's love has taught me is that love isn't merely just something that you say to people, something that is done. Love is an action, and we're shown that because in 1 John chapter 4, verse 16, we know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. We know what real love is because of an action done for us. Jesus didn't really sit here and say, "Oh, I love you guys so much." His love ignited something within him. Love is supposed to move you, love is supposed to call you to action. And that is something that really resonated with me because when I first read the Bible, that was the biggest depiction of love that I've seen ever, obviously, but it was the first depiction of love that I've seen, and I was really moved by it. In 1 John chapter 4, we're also told, "Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other, let us show the truth by our actions." So that is just another instance of how we're supposed to love each other by what we do. We're supposed to love each other by how we treat each other, how we speak to each other, by our actions, not just by merely saying it and not acting on it, because love is something that's meant to be acted on. Just like how in the book of James we're told faith without works is dead, love without action is dead. That is something that really resonated with me when I first read the Bible. And I honestly think that's one of my top lessons in love from the Lord that I've received. Another thing about love that I've learned from the Lord is that you have to be able to see somebody and know them in order to love them. You'd think that this would be something that is obvious, but honestly, as humans, we're not really taught how to love, and we're not taught how to receive that love either. I learned that in order to love somebody, you have to see them and see them fully, meaning that you have to see the good parts, the bad parts. I realized that I was not allowing myself to be loved by humans. Of course, God loves me, and of course, I received His love, but of course, that was hard for me as well at first. But when I realized I was not allowing people to see me, allowing people to know me, I was keeping them from loving me. Because in order to love somebody, you have to see them, you have to know them. So we're told in the book of Psalms that our tears are bottled and they're not shed in vain. We know that our tears are being kept, we know that our tears are being recorded, and that they are being looked upon. That every tear that we shed is not in vain and that it's been seen, basically, meaning that your sadness has been seen. We're told in the book of Matthew that the amount of hairs on our head is known by the Lord. That's how much He loves us, that's how much He knows us. And to be known to that level, to have somebody know why you've shed every tear that you've shed, how many tears you've shed, how many hairs are on your head is insane to think about. And it's very hard to comprehend the amount of love that God has for us. But we're told to love like how He loved us. And we're supposed to bring His love to full expression in us, meaning we're meant to be a light and we're meant to just light everything up, you know? We're meant to express the love that God has given us because it is honestly something that can't be contained. Your love is supposed to be so big it can't be contained. You're supposed to emit light everywhere that you go. We are supposed to have so much love in our heart that it just flows out into everybody. That's how we're supposed to be as Christians. But I'm getting sidetracked. So we know that God knows us, right? And we know that He formed us in the womb. And when He made us, He knew every single mistake that we would make. He knew every bad thing that we would do. And He knew that there is evil lying in our hearts. Yet He still died for us. Yet He still loves us. He loves us knowing every single bad thing that we will do and everything that we will continue to do. He knows us. He knows every thought that's in your head. He knows when you're about to sin, even when you don't know. And when I really understood that and when I really learned more about that, I found it so hard to comprehend that somebody could love me knowing every single bad thing that I've done, every single bad thing that I'm going to do, and that the love was not taken away just because of me being known entirely for all that I am. And it made me think about how to be known is to be loved. And it made me think about how I was not giving people the opportunity to fully know me, and that at some points I wasn't allowing myself to know other people fully. I wasn't allowing myself to see the ugly. I was not allowing other people to see my ugly either. So it was just surface level. But love is not something that is surface level. To love somebody is to know them entirely, not to just let them see the good parts of you. No, they have to see you, they have to know you. God sees us, God knows us, and we're told to love like Him. We're supposed to see each other, we're supposed to love one another fully. That means knowing them, knowing every bad thing that they do and loving them either way, embracing them either way. God has embraced our flaws. God has embraced the ugly sides of us. And that's what we're supposed to do for other people. But we cannot do that unless we're living in the light. And we cannot do that unless we allow ourselves to be known and know other people. And that's really important. And it's not something that is easy to do, but it's something that's important, especially if you want to receive the love that God has given you and if you want to express it. You have to let yourself be known and you have to know others fully. You can't just know them on a surface level because that's not what we're called to do. We're called to love one another and help guide one another. How can you help somebody if you do not know what they're struggling with? You have to love one another, you have to open up to one another. We're meant to have community. And there's no such thing as a strong community if you're not sharing parts of yourself, if you're not letting other people in. Okay, that's something that I'm really passionate about. I'd say that that is something that I'm really passionate about because it's been shown to me that I didn't get to know people and I didn't let them get to know me. And I felt very bad because I was saying I love you and stuff, but it's like, how can I love you if I don't know you? And why do you love me if you don't know me? And it really like dawned upon me that I can't love anybody and nobody can love me unless I allow them in and unless I let them know me and love me for who I am. Another thing that God has taught me about love is that it's not always rewarded. So we know that we're given freedom and we have the option to receive God's love and we have the option to reject it. And whether or not you accept or reject Jesus and his love is still good. So God has shown me that just because your love is good does not mean that everybody's going to receive it, does not mean that everybody's going to take care of it. Because look at how Jesus loved other people. He loved perfectly. This is our example, right? But even though he loved perfectly, Judas still betrayed him. Judas literally sold him out for gold. And in today's times, the amount of gold that he got is not even a lie. It was like chump change. Imagine somebody selling you out after years of discipleship together, after years of love, loving them perfectly, by the way, for chump change, for like $100 bill. Don't get me wrong, $100 is a lot. But look at the economy, it's failing. It's not going to do a lot for you. That's chump change. So imagine somebody doing that for chump change when you loved them perfectly, when you loved them, you knew them completely, and you did action to display your love for them. You didn't just say it, you showed it. Love does not make you exempt from bad things happening to you. And of course, that's a given. But I also think that it's really important to study that because a lot of people don't want to love again after being hurt. But imagine if Jesus stopped loving just because of how he was hurt. Nobody said that you're not going to be hurt just because you love other people. Now you're protected by the Lord and your love does not go unnoticed and you acting Christ like does not go unnoticed. But it does not mean that everybody's going to receive your love. It does not mean that everybody's going to treat you right because that didn't even happen to Jesus and his love was perfect. That's literally our example. So it's very important to see and understand that just because you love somebody does not mean that things are going to be perfect. It just means that you are acting as Christ like as you can. It just means that you're close to God, and that's beautiful. But there are people who are going to persecute you and hate you just because you are close to God. Look at how he look at how the world treated God's people. Look at how the world treated God when he sent his son down. Look at how people treated Jesus. Just because you love somebody, even if you're doing it, just because you love somebody does not inherently mean that they're going to love you back. Does not inherently mean that they're going to be good to you. That's just not the case. Love is risky, but it's worth it. There is no guarantee on anything in this life, but if there is nothing that you take away from the Bible, it's to love one another. And we're supposed to love them greatly. And we're not supposed to be so caught up in our reward for it. We're not supposed to be so caught up in the effects of it and what we get in return. No, we're supposed to be caught up in loving them completely. It doesn't matter how you treat me, I'm still supposed to love you. That is important because when you have a sense of entitlement that just because you love somebody, they're supposed to love you back, that is what's going to lead you down a dark path. Because just because you do the right thing does not mean that other people will meet you in the middle. That's not the case, and it never was the case. Look how they did Jesus. Like, you can't expect a flawed world, a world that literally killed a perfect man, to meet you with open arms. Jesus told us, if they hate you, don't worry about it because they hated me first. They hated a perfect man first. So, how can you expect that your love is going to always be received well and cared for? We can't, but it's still important to love nonetheless. And I think that part is super important because in order to love, you have to be brave because we don't know what people are going to do with our love, but we're still called to love one another. And I think that that's beautiful. Loving people, not even knowing how they're going to receive it, not even knowing if they are going to honor you, respect you, but you still have love for them either way. I think that's brave. I think that's honorable. And we're shown that. Look at look at Jesus. He was brave, he was honorable, and even when his love was not received well, he still had it in his heart. He didn't lose it. Somebody not receiving him well did not cause him to lose his love. And I always found that super beautiful, and that's something that I carry with me all the time because I don't care how you receive me. I don't care how you receive my love. I'm still going to be myself and I am still going to give love out because that's what I'm called to do. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what makes me happy. That's what keeps me close to God, my love. Because we're told when we love one another, God's love is brought to full expression. So why would I stop expressing God's love? Why would I stop being Christ like just because of something that you did to me? Okay, that was a good rant. Um, Another thing that God's love has taught me is that honesty is beautiful and that you are not going to be rebuked for being honest. We can see that in the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms is my all time favorite book in the Bible. I read it all the time. Actually, I read it every day. I read a psalm every day. Sometimes a whole chapter, sometimes a couple pages, okay? But in the book of Psalms, David is insanely honest. And when I first read it, I was like, I was immature in faith. So I was like, I did not know we could speak to God like this. I didn't know we could tell God that we're angry. I didn't know that we could tell God, like, hey, you said you were going to help me. Like, don't have your promise fall short. I didn't know that we could have that type of honesty and vulnerability with God. But when I got my relationship with God and I started building on it, I started to look at the way that David prayed again. And I was like, that there was no rebuke for this. If anything, David was said to be a man after God's heart, but he had so much honesty with God. And he was just, he was so vulnerable with him. And a part of love is vulnerability and honesty. Those two words are interchangeable to me. And yeah, I wanted to use an example of a psalm that really like kind of shocked me because I didn't know that we could speak to God this way. But in Psalm 73, David asks, did I keep my heart pure for nothing? Did I keep myself innocent for no reason? I get nothing but trouble all day long. Every morning brings me pain. If I had really spoken this way to others, I would have been a traitor to your people. So I tried to understand when the wicked prosper, what a difficult task it is. And after that, he began to sing God's praises as he always did. But before he sung his praises, he was honest and he asked the real questions. He was like, did I do this for nothing? Why are these people still prospering? And he said this a lot in the book of Psalms in so many ways. But he was so honest and he was so vulnerable and raw. And that's something that God appreciated. And that's something that stuck out to me a lot because vulnerability and honesty is not always hard, but if it is something that God loves, something that is shown to be an action of love, then why not show that love to other people? And I don't know, just seeing the honesty and vulnerability that he had just taught me a lot and it made me want to resemble it the same in my prayer life, but also in my other relationships. So, if God does not rebuke us for honesty and He actually accepts it, and that's what He wants from us, honesty and vulnerability, and we're meant to love like God, why would we not resemble that in our relationships? Why would we not reflect that in our other relationships in life? Reflect that honesty and vulnerability. I'm not saying be vulnerable with people in the same sense that you would be vulnerable with the Lord. No, because that type of stuff is meant to be separate. And there's a certain type of vulnerability you have for the Lord that you're not supposed to have for everybody else. But I am saying that vulnerability is very important to human relationships. Like, it's very important in the community. And it's not something that is rebuked, being honest. Okay, so last thing. In First John, we are told that perfect love expels fear. And this is a verse that I hold very near and dear to my heart because a lot of people are experiencing fear with love. Again, because it is risky, you don't know what's going to happen and how people are going to receive you. But perfect love is meant to expel that fear. We're not meant to have fear in our love for God, which can be kind of tricky because we're told to fear the Lord and have deep reverence for Him. But we know that God's perfect love that He gives us has no fear in it. And in 1 John 4:18, it says, "Such love has no fear, because perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment." And this shows that we have not fully experienced His perfect love. We have not experienced the perfect love of the Lord if we are in a state of panic and fear when it comes to love. And I found that to be really profound because if I'm experiencing fear and loving you, then something is wrong. Love should not strike fear within you. It should bring a sense of peace, a sense of comfort, because that's what God does for us. And if we really are His people and we accepted His love within us and we're expressing it, hello, and we're expressing it to others, then people should not fear loving us. We should not fear love from other people. Yet we do, because we're humans and we're flawed, and we know how risky love is. But there should not be any fear in love and community. There should be no fear. You should not be striking fear in others, period, actually. But of course, when it comes to love, you're not supposed to be afraid. And it's become really normalized to be afraid to love because it's human. And it's become really normalized to be standoffish and just have traits of fear when it comes to love. When in reality, it's going to be very hard to accept love to the fullest extent if you have your walls up and if you're fearful. But we know that a perfect love expels such fear. And I think about that all the time. If I ever get nervous to speak to somebody in like a romantic way, I'm like, I'm not supposed to have that. And I'm not supposed to be so fearful when it comes to love. And you should not be causing such a dysregulated nervous system within me. And your love or lack of it should not bring fear in my life. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. And I'm very happy that I learned it. I'm still learning it. I'm still accepting it. I'm still learning and accepting all these things that I talked about. It's not perfect, but it's something that I really appreciate that the Lord has taught me and shown me. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it. So, yeah, I pray this video resonates with somebody and that you guys can share to me what God has shown you about love and what He's taught you. And I pray that we all just bring God's love in full expression. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a blessed day. Peace out.